Hey everyone, and welcome to another. What is it about a sock being squint that makes you not able to function? Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So today I'm filming my rather unimpressive January wrap up. So January's not been the best month reading wise for me. I have finished 2 books. I'm also in the middle of 2 books, so that kind of makes it a little bit better. But yeah, no, it's just not been the strongest reading month for me, quantity-wise. I felt like I was in a slump most of the month, just didn't really want to get to reading anything. I don't think I even finished my first book till like the 25th of the month or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I kind of just chilled out for the start of January, didn't force myself to read when I didn't want to, and I now have finally gotten a bit more back into it, but yeah, not particularly quickly, but I'm going to put this down to kind of recovering from a reading slump, and this is just going to be a bad month for me. So what I'm going to do is go through the books that I read this month, and I'm also going to go through the books that I forgot to mention in my December wrap up, because I was so clever, I managed to forget like 3 books, which makes me really, really naff. So yeah, we'll start off with the ones that I read in December that I forgot to talk about. Crazy, because I actually enjoyed them, so I don't know why I forgot I read them. Anyway, so we'll start off with the ones from December that I forgot to tell you about back then, and then we'll go to the books that I have finished in January and the 2 that I'm in the middle of and what my thoughts are for them at the moment. And basically flesh out the video that way, because otherwise it'd be really, really short. Anyway, let's get stuck in. So one of the books in December that I forgot to talk about was Dance with the Devil by Sherilyn Kenyon. Here it is. Yeah, this book I had been reading for about 3 months. Don't really know why. I really enjoyed the book and the series, but yeah, I took about 3 months to get through it. And after all that time and all that effort, I forgot all about it. I finished this book pretty early in the month. That is my only excuse for forgetting to put it in the wrap up, because I was almost done with it. In November. So this one, as a quick wrap up, is the 4th book in the Dark Hunter series. It follows Zarek, who is considered to be kind of an uncontrollable, unpredictable Dark Hunter, and Artemis has decided she's had enough and she wants him terminated and has an executioner at the ready, whereas Acheron, who's kind of like he's like the day-to-day manager of the Dark Hunters, best way to put it, he kind of makes sure that like they have what they need and they know what they're doing, kind of a thing. Whereas Artemis is their creator. So anyway, Acheron doesn't want him destroyed. He feels that there's a lot between him and Zarek that's really similar with their pasts, and he just can't bear to see Zarek destroyed, because if you kill a Dark Hunter, they basically become this wandering ghost that can't ever find peace, and it's pretty crap way to go. So he doesn't want that outcome for Zarek, so he tries to find a judge who he can at least get judged fairly, whether he's worthy of being redeemed or not. So he finds Astrid, and she's a pretty tough judge. She's not one for finding anyone innocent, but he's sure that she will judge him fairly, so hopefully mean he will not end up getting terminated. So this is a paranormal romance kind of story between Astrid and Zarek, and you find out more about his past and what's in store for him in the future, as Artemis's executioner is a little bit too keen and sets off to deal with him before he should. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It was really good. It was a reread for me. I've said in previous videos, it's not the strongest book in the series in my opinion, but I do really, really enjoy it. I enjoy the plot of this one more than the romance. I feel the romance is a little average, but I like the plot behind the scenes and learning more about Zarek. I do love a tortured soul. It's one of my favourite tropes. I rated this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I'm going to carry on with the series this year. The next book that I read in December and promptly forgot to talk about was All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So this book is the first sort of novella in the Murderbot Diaries. And I have heard so many recommendations to read the Murderbot Diaries. It follows, I don't really know what exactly it is. Like a humanoid robot type thing. It's like a security droid. And this droid has hacked its own governor module, which means it's not under the control of its employers anymore. It does what it wants. and what it wants is to slack off from its job and watch soap operas all day. I'm alright with that. It calls itself the Murder Bot. It's quite a sarcastic, funny wee being, and yeah, I thought I would really, really enjoy it. I've heard so many rave reviews about it, and the only channel I've seen mention that they weren't quite as enthused with it as the ratings would say, or as everything I've heard so far, was the channel Jessie May, and she said that she was just a bit like it was okay. Wasn't anything special, and I'm kind of the same. Like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it fine. It wasn't bad. But I don't know. I'm not jumping up and down about it. I gave it 3 stars. It was good. It was a decent enough read, but you know, it didn't pull me in the way I was expecting it to. You know, the humour aspect of the droid that just wants to watch soap operas, yeah, it's funny, but it's like, that's like the same joke that's played over and over and over again. It's like, yeah, I get it. It wants to watch TV. That's funny. Okay. But there wasn't a lot more to it. I quite enjoy the interaction between Murderbot and the humans in the crew that it's working with. That was quite enjoyable. The plot itself, to be honest, I don't even really remember it. There was some sort of deception going on. They were there to take samples of things. But honestly, the plot did not stick in my head. It's actually fallen out my brain. And like I say, the characters are stuck in my brain. And I remember the scientists, and I remember, you know, what went on between the characters. But like I said, the plot has just literally fallen out. And I feel like it just didn't stick in my head. I don't really know what happened. And I only read it like a month ago. So I'd like it fine enough. I think if you want to kind of get into like a baby version of sci-fi, that's maybe something good to start with. But at the moment, I would kind of just put it as middle of the road. I'm not in a rush to continue with the series. I'm not saying I never will, but the book kind of finishes, the novella finishes in a way that you could just leave it there. And at the moment, I'm quite happy just to leave it there. I don't feel the need to continue right now. I'm not saying I never will, but I'm not jumping around about it. But it was fine. It was absolutely fine. The last book that I forgot to tell you about in December was actually one I really enjoyed and rated 4 stars. So I don't know how I forgot to talk about it. This was The Recovery of Rose Gold by Stephanie Robel. Robel? I think that's how you say her name. So this book is basically like a story surrounding Munchausen's by proxy. Rose Gold was raised by her mother Patty, and Patty essentially pretended that Rose Gold was sick for years. I'm not entirely sure if it's never very clear if she was aware that Rose Gold was fine, or if she genuinely believed that she wasn't fine. But she wasn't sick. I'm not entirely sure how that scenario worked out. But basically, Rose Gold was a completely fine enough, healthy child, and Patty essentially poisoned her to make her appear ill. Took her to loads of doctors, shaved her head, she was in a wheelchair. You know, she basically tortured this poor child for 18 years, convinced her that she was essentially dying and couldn't do anything. And Rose Gold grew up being completely dependent on her mother, not having any friends, not having anything, because all she had was her next doctor's appointment, and she was constantly vomiting and she was constantly feeling dreadful. So that's not great. That's really not great. I find this topic absolutely fascinating, I must admit. So when I heard about this book, I knew I had to read it. So the book is basically Patty, the mother, has been locked up for her abuse of Rose Gold, and she served 5 years. And the book follows sort of 2 timelines where after Patty's been locked up, Rose Gold has obviously got to try and establish a life for herself. And she's, you know, got to get somewhere to live and get a job and all these things. So she's got to figure out just plain old life and try and get back some of the stuff that she's missed over the years. And she has a lot of struggles in doing that, trying to figure out what her place in the world is and how she's gonna manage. And then the other timeline is 5 years from that point when Patty is being released, and she ends up going back to stay with Rose Gold. And she's adamant Rose Gold is going to be back under her thumb. That's the way things should be. Everyone was wrong about her. She talks like she was convinced that Rose Gold was actually sick. Even though she was making her sick. So it's really strange. But yeah, so she's gone back to live with her daughter, and everyone in the neighborhood is horrified because they're like, oh my God, why would she let her mum back into her life? She's just gonna get abused again. And for a while, it really looks as if that's the way things are gonna go. And everyone's really horrified. They don't want this to happen to Rose Gold again. So yeah, it's a really twisted book. Rose Gold has a lot more scars than just the physical ones caused by her mother's abuse. She's not okay. I don't want to spoil this book. It's very twisted. I think if you're kind of a fan of like the darker character kind of thing, like a Gone Girl kind of, everything is related to Gone Girl, I know, but like one of those sort of darker themed books where you're kind of following a character that's very morally grey, and it's hard to root for anyone in this book because although Rose Gold is the clear victim of her mother's abuse, she's not the delicate little child she was when her mother was taken away. And it's fascinating. I really enjoyed this book. I thought the characters were brilliant. It was really dark, really twisty. I didn't really know what was going to happen. I had a few ideas, but I didn't twig right until like the reveal, and I was like, oh my God, I know what's going to happen now. So like it was right before it kind of got revealed, and I was like, hold on. And I figured out what was going on. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. If you don't like books with characters that are quite dark and quite twisted, then you won't like this. But I found it very compelling. I really enjoyed it, and I would absolutely read another book by this author. I thought she did a really good job. So I would highly recommend this book, unless the topics involved would be triggering for you. I would definitely encourage you to read this book. It was really good. Next, we'll talk about the whole two books that I managed to finish this month. One of the things I'm going to do this year is start to use the CawPile rating system. If you've seen my video describing how I rated books in the past and what I'm going to do going forward, I will link the video up there. I'm going to start using CawPile. So everything from this point onwards will be rated using the CawPile system. The ones from last year were just gut feeling kind of ratings. So the two books that I finished in January were It Only Happens in the Movies by Holly Bourne and Blind Spot by Jo Richardson. So It Only Happens in the Movies was my Tackle My TBR pick for January. So if you aren't aware, every month I pick a prompt out of the jar and I pick a book that reflects that prompt, and last month's one was It Only Happens in the Movies. This is a contemporary romance. It follows Audrey Winters, who is dealing with a lot. Her parents had this great romance. They were always so in love, but now they're getting divorced, and it is a messy divorce. And she's just had a breakup where a guy treated her really badly, and her head's in a spin. And she is so over romance. She's so over everyone pretending love is the be all and end all of everything. And yeah, she's not in a great place. While she's vulnerable, she meets the quintessential bad boy type where everyone warns you off him and says, no, he'll destroy you, don't, he'll break your heart, don't go near him. She feels like she's very much got her eyes open. She's not gonna be taken in by his charm. Because of what she's gone through this year, she's just like, nah, no one's gonna draw me into this romance crap anymore. And basically the plot line follows her making a movie with her friends about a zombie bride, and she's kind of just learning about herself and what she feels about things. And there's a bit of a romance, and you see her deal with her family issues and all this stuff, and it's really good. It's such a good book. I love the characters. Please ignore the jingling in the background. That is my dog's collar. He's destroying my dressing gown, and his tag is jingling. Anyway, so it's a really, really good book. The characters are wonderful. I really enjoy them. She's got a good relationship with her friends, but she's having some trouble there, but it's a nice group of girls, and her relationship with her family is so messed up in places, and oh, it was kind of heartbreaking. Some of it was just like, oh my god, she should not be going through this. So it deals with hard issues. All of Holly Bourne's books seems to deal with harder issues. But then they also have a lot of like comic relief as well. So another cracking book from Holly Bourne, and I rated it a 4-star through Copile. Highly recommend. I think everyone should read Holly Bourne. I'm not a huge contemporary reader, but I love her books. So the other book that I finished this month was Blind Spot by Jo Richardson. I got a copy of this for free from Book Sirens in exchange for a review. And I rated this one 2 stars when I went through Copile. And yeah, this one was a bit unfortunate. So it's a paranormal romance kind of thriller between an ex-cop running from his past and like a small town psychic who's just trying to help him out. Only way I can talk about this book is to break it down. So the plot of this book is, like I say, the ex-cop, he comes to town, and the small town psychic Sydney, she keeps getting visions of him and visions of someone from his past, and she can't help but butt her nose into his business because of all the things she's seeing, and she wants to help him. She thinks he's horrible because he's really rude, but then she sort of learns more about why he's being that way, and she wants to help him. And it's like the plot is quite nice. I quite enjoyed that. That was fine. The issues that the ex-cop Tucker Chase is running from is a really good plot line. I really enjoyed it. So he was a copper along with his brother and his friend, and a lot of shit went down basically, and his brother's dead, and he's dealing with that and all the repercussions from it. And that plot line is really strong. I really enjoyed learning about what happened with him, with his brother, and the case he was working on and things like that. It was really, really good, and I wanted to read on to find out what happened in that scenario. I thought it was a really good plot line. The biggest letdown for this book was the characters. I hated them. It's such a shame. If the characters were better, I would have really enjoyed this book. Sydney, the female lead, is not fleshed out at all. We get a tiny hint into her backstory, and other than that, she seems a very one-dimensional busybody who's kind of annoying. And yeah, nothing really draws you into her. You don't get enough of her. She's not fleshed out. She doesn't feel like a real person. I don't know, she just was very poorly developed, and yeah, I just feel like there's so much more could have been done with her. There was a mention of, like the psychic visions are like a family trait, and some stuff happened with her mother, and that could have been looked into a lot more, but it was very brief and not really dealt with. That would have been more interesting than what I will get to, which was a high proportion of the book. The other character, Tucker Chase, was better than Sydney. He was better developed than Sydney, but not really to his credit. Like, yes, he was dealing with a lot, but his behaviour in parts of this book was just disgusting. And I wouldn't have been able to forgive his behaviour. He treated Sydney like shit. There is no other way of describing it. It was foul. He was so pervy and predatory, and he just kept getting drunk and groping at her. And I'm like, I said it in my review, I'm just like, we were meant to think that this was a turn on. Like, you were behaving like a disgusting, rapey weird boy, and what this was meant to be a turn on. But Sydney was turned on by it. I don't know why. Like, it was repulsive. His behaviour was repulsive. It was not attractive in any way. Just because someone's attractive doesn't mean they can behave like a complete sleazebag and get off with it. He just deserved to get punched in the face, quite frankly. It was awful. Yeah, so another great big irritating part of this book was the constant sex scenes. Like, I get it. There was a romance element to the book, but the characters were spending a great deal of their time thinking about how much they wanted to have sex with each other, or they were having sex with each other. And it's like, I was bored. I like romance books, but I don't want every few scenes to have another sex scene. It was just, I skimmed it. It got to the point where I had to skim it to get to the rest of the plot because I wasn't interested in seeing them shagging. I didn't care. There was no connection to the characters. I found him repulsive and I found her stupid for not finding him repulsive. So the sex scenes, especially in the early parts of the book, the sex scenes were not, or the sexual related scenes were not good for me at all. And as they developed into a relationship, they were just at it like rabbits all the time. And I was just bored. And I was just, oh my God, stop shagging for 5 minutes and actually do something else, please. This book would have been better without the romance. If Sydney and Tucker were just friends and there was no romance element there, this actually would have at least given this book another star, because that brought it all down. It was awful. I read a lot of books with graphic sexual material, and I've never been so bored in all my life. Oh my God, this was so boring. The sex part just ruined this book. It really did. So yeah, poor characters and far too much sex to buff out a book that actually had a decent enough plot without it. I don't understand. I really don't understand. I'm disappointed. I really am. I thought it was going to be better because I really enjoyed the plot, and I was excited to find out what happened with Tucker and his past and stuff, and I just had to get bombarded with these scenes that I had no interest in, and it was like, ugh, boring. Where's the next part that I want to read? That's how it felt by the end. And I had really enjoyed the book I just spoken about, the Holly Bourne book, and that felt like it had got me out of the reading slump, and then this one kind of put me back in it a little bit because I got a bit bored. So yeah, I rated it 2 stars. I could push it to 2. If I was rating on gut feeling alone, I would have probably put it as 2.5 stars. Copel gave me a rating of 2, and it makes sense, you know, that breaks down everything. And yeah, so unfortunately not for me, but I am sad because I did enjoy the plot. So yeah. But hey ho, next to the 2 books that I'm in the middle of. So I'm in the middle of reading The Idiot Brain by Dean Burnett. And I think I've got about 2 hours or so, 2.5 hours left of the audiobook. I'll be finished in the next couple of days, that's for sure. I've been reading that one all month, just kind of like a 20 minutes to and from the yard every day. And I'm really enjoying that book. It's got a lot of informative pieces to it. It's really interesting. I like the way the author narrates. So I foresee a good rating for that one. I really enjoy it. It's kind of to do with the way the brain works, but like on stuff that you take for granted, like how the brain, like its memory and understanding language and sort of people pleasing and taste and smell and all these kind of aspects of the brain that like it's like the basic stuff that it does without you really thinking about it too much. It kind of goes into what the brain's doing for those tasks and things like that, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a good book, not one that's like zoom through at page turner, but a nice book to kind of just plod away through as an audiobook. But I often find that with non-fiction, I like to read them as audiobooks really. And the other book that I'm in the middle of is Of Wicked Blood, and this is by Olivia Wildenstein and Katie Hayos. This is a young adult fantasy start of a series, I believe. And it is following, I think they're both 17, Slate Ardwan and Cadence de Morel. And Slate is a bit of a crook, a bit of a thief, and he goes and nicks a fancy jewel from Cadence's family crypt, and turns out it's cursed, and he's not too happy about it. So he's had to go to the family and try and find out how to rid himself of said curse that he's gotten himself stuck with. Oh, just realised I've kind of like sunk into the beanbag a bit there. I was like, I'm getting really far away from the camera. But yeah, so he's basically gone to the family and been like, look, by the way, I nicked this from your family's crypt, and I can't, yeah. He's basically cursed by this stone that he's stolen, and this has set off a chain of events that he now has no control over and is going to have to do something to get out of the predicament he's gotten himself in. I'm about 20% of the way through, 25% of the way through of this book at the minute. So far, really enjoying it. I like the humour. It reminds me very much of like early season Buffy kind of humour. I would say the characters come across as quite young for their age. They don't read as mature. Like some young adult books, I think the characters often read like they're in their early 20s as opposed to when they're in school age. So they're like college age students type thing. They're in France. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the book so far. Like I say, my one thing I would note is that they're not, it reads a little younger than you expect. But I am enjoying it so far. It's making me smile. It's exactly what I need right now. I'm kind of flying through it, to be honest, because I only started it yesterday. So I'm reading it quite quickly and I'm really enjoying it. So that I foresee having a decent rating as well if it carries on the way it's going. So those two will feature in my next month wrap up. But yeah, so that is everything that I read in January and the ones that I read in December that I never got around to telling you about. Yeah, overall, January has not been the best reading month quantity-wise, but equally, I've been quite happy with what I've read, and I've kind of just allowed myself some time just to get back into the reading mood and stuff. So it's all good. I'm not giving myself too much grief about it. Like I say, I should finish the 2 books I'm in the middle of in the next couple of days. So it would kind of be a four book month, but technically for this wrap up we're just gonna have it as 2. But yeah, it's been okay. It's been a decent enough reading month. I'm not complaining too much about it. It's been a busy month for lots of reasons, despite the fact we're in lockdown. Between puppies and ponies, I've been run ragged, so not had the greatest amount of time for reading, but I have actually managed to start putting aside some time to read, so that's good. So that's today's video. I hope you enjoyed. How did your reading month go? Was your January good? Did you get through quite a lot of books, or was it a little bit less than you expected? Let me know how it went for you. I would love to hear from you. And I will see you again with another video very soon. Bye.